I want to make a point though about the carbohydrate thing. I always talk about simple carbohydrates are the most efficient fuel because that's what we burn, right? And it's important to eat simply so you don't miscombine and then have issues because of that. But I think it's that being theoretically for me the ideal food source. When we live in our homes that are in like a different climate zone, we were living in Florida and eating all the fruit because the fruit was growing there and it was attainable. When we moved to North Carolina, during the wintertime, the fruit was not attainable. We could still get the vegetables from the greenhouse and from like different permacultural techniques, but the fruit is scarce for about 4 or 5 months out of the year. So since carbohydrate is the ideal source, we went to buckwheat because buckwheat is basically a fruit. But it's a grain, but the constituency is more like a fruit. It's a very easily digestible carbohydrate, and that carbohydrate breaks down a lot faster than most grains. It's a little bit longer than sugar, but for me...
So buckwheat is your fruit during the winter months.
Yeah, and it's more important for me, as opposed to try to eat the ideal foods. I don't want to put all this extra strain on this this sort of not natural way of getting things. I don't want to have fruit shipped from all over the world. I would much rather eat in alignment with my ecological values, because I feel like it's almost the same thing as a lot of people who are like really strict about it has to be fruit all the time. They, as part of their sort of natural hygiene values, they say that you shouldn't sort of like, say you have a bacterial infection, you shouldn't take an antibiotic, because then you might save whatever tissue is being affected by the bacteria, but then you do great damage to the rest of your body. The same way as if you try to eat the supposedly ideal physiological diet to help your body for yourself, you're ignoring how those means affect the entire organism. So it's the exact same thing.
Wow,
it's like,
I like that. I don't think I'll ever switch, but I really like that. I'm really impressed by that.
So that's kind of how I feel about it. We have to look at the whole environment as our larger body, and we can't just be attached to this body at the expense of everyone else. And we have to
have greenhouses though, can't you grow fruit?
You are a little bit more limited. I mean, certain trees, it's because of the amount of sun, really. Because in the wintertime you have much less sunlight, so you can't extend it. Either way, you still have to have the sunlight. Okay. So there's certain climates, certain areas close to the equator. But once you
recommend if you live in the wintertime, you have to kind of deal with not getting fruit and go more towards those fruits that are more acclimated to the wintertime.
Well, also there's apples too. I mean, you can store apples in a root cellar. I mean, there are ways to go around it. We ate a lot of apples, but still, to have apples aren't that high in calories, so we were using the buckwheat to get us through that. So I want to just make that point that we can look at what's physiologically great, but we also have to understand we've strayed a great deal in our society, and we have to figure out the most responsible and efficient way, with all things being considered, with all of our relationships and all of our,
By the way, how many calories is buckwheat? Like a pound of buckwheat?
A pound of buckwheat, I think, is roughly like 1,000 calories. I think.
So you need two pounds of buckwheat a day.
Or it's a cup. I think a cup is 1,000. It's something like that. If you eat, basically you can eat a pound. A pound per day is good for one person. So it's like 1,800 calories. I think a pound of buckwheat.
Now, how would you eat the buckwheat?
We sprout the buckwheat.
You sprout the buckwheat.
So you soak the buckwheat to germinate it, and then you let it sprout. You can even get greens out of it. But then
is it good or is it bad?
Salad, it's delicious.
Delicious.
Yeah, it's really delicious.
So you would sit down with 2 pounds of buckwheat in front of you with some apple slice up and eat it?
No, you don't want to have any kind of fruit sugar with the start.
So you eat the buckwheat by itself?
Yeah, or with vegetables.
Yeah, with like carrot,
or with lettuce or carrots, celery, stuff like that.
And then how would that be?
It's delicious. And you can make like a little soup, add some water and like some herbs and stuff. Wow. But
so in other words, I would recommend that you kind of demo that.
Okay. Yeah, we could do that, and it's really good. But obviously, don't combine any kind of sugar or acid with the buckwheat, because that will make it ferment. That will actually stop the action of the starch digestive enzyme in the saliva, and you'll have a really hard time digesting it. You can get gas and things like that.
So that'll be a good video for tomorrow.
Cool.
Can you do that one day?
Yeah, we'll soak it tonight.
We'll soak it tonight.
Yeah.